Hello, gods and goddesses. Thank you all for coming out to the Goddess Queen Tulsa show. We are definitely here to discuss the latest homicide here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It happened to happen at the Tulsa Public Schools, McLain High School here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Go ahead and check out the description. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We'll be right back.
Um, yes, thank you for your patience. We really appreciate you all giving us a moment to navigate through this difficult time. Um, when a tragedy like this happens in a school district, we have to balance um, the needs of our students, the needs of our team, our families, and then, of course, you and the important role that you play in communicating to the broader community, and that matters too. But we just had to balance all of those things. So for the last few days, our focus has been entirely on the community and McLean students, the teachers, and families there. Um, Yesterday, I spent most of the day at McLean with our team there, with our teachers and other team members there. And I want to honor their privacy, but I do want you to know is that in our district, we have educators and support professionals who are carrying the weight of the world every day. And then you can imagine, especially when something like this happens. And our expectations as a society have become heavier and heavier and heavier for them. And it's a lot. They take their responsibility very seriously, that all of their responsibilities, they to love their students, to support their students, to support one another, to protect their students, to educate their students. um, and as a district and as school teams, we have this bond, this commitment, this trust between families and schools. And it it it, it basically says that you bring us your babies, whether they're 4 or 14 or 40-year-old teachers, and you entrust your babies to us, and we will support you in educating them, ability to care for them and help them to learn and thrive and grow. And so the team, because we all take that so seriously, the team at McLean is heartbroken. Um, they're focusing right now on the nearly 800 students at the school who need their support. Um, and but I want to talk a little bit about what happened at last week's homecoming game. What you know about and what unfortunately took place. It was one of 5 different games that happened on that day, and it's a part of an epidemic of gun violence that is happening in all parts of our community and all across the country. Um, but before we talk more about that, and I'm sure you have questions, I want to talk a little bit about Tehran Yarborough. I want to talk about our students at McLean. Um, so when we were with the team yesterday, we were talking about Tehran and we were talking about homecoming. And the students were talking about Tehran and what kind of a student he was. And what I want you to know is that he was incredibly smart. He was the kind of student who his teachers talked about him picking up things so quickly that other students would rely on him for support and help. He was an AP student. He was taking AP chemistry. He was taking Algebra 2. He was beginning to take manufacturing classes that are associated with our relationship with Tulsa Tech. He also worked a construction job and worked really hard inside and outside of school. He was also an athlete. He was a supportive friend. He was loved and he was treasured, and he had an incredible future ahead of him. And his passing is an immeasurable loss for those who loved him. It's a loss for all of us who didn't know him well as also. So I asked one of his teachers if there was anything she would want people to know about Tehran, and I want to share directly what she said. Tehran was absolutely brilliant and incredibly talented in math and science. He was balancing home and school with hard work in the construction industry. He was passionate about football and basketball. He loved his family so much, and his absence will be palpable. So our team has been in touch with the Yarborough family, as well as with the families of the other students who were injured on Friday night. We do have a student who remains hospitalized, and a younger student and her older sister who were injured, who were treated and released. They're recovering well physically. So before we open up, I also would just want to talk a little bit about McLain homecoming, because I don't want that lost either. First of all, we didn't win, but it was close. And the team, the football team is strong this year, and they played a great game. But also, we had the Marching Soul, the Ladies of Essence dance team, the Titan Cheer, and the JROTC, who all did an amazing job and had worked really hard getting ready for the game. There were multiple pep rallies and all the Spirit Week, kind of homecoming week activities that you may remember from school, that you perhaps even seen your own children go through. These young people and their coaches and their teachers and their sponsors worked so hard, and they did their community proud, and they had a great night. It was a beautiful, beautiful evening. And the halls of McLain right now, as we've been walking through them, they're so full of decorations from homecoming. And so many students were involved with the celebrations. And so I share this because it's just so important for Tulsans to know who our kids are. They need to understand that McLain is a beautiful school with incredible people, students and adults alike, who are working really hard and deserve nothing but our love, our respect, and our care. At McLain, every single day, if you were there, you'd see scholars, you'd see athletes, you'd see dancers, you'd see musicians. Oh, I didn't mention the band, which has grown tremendously, who performed at homecoming. You'd see kids who were painting posters for homecoming, getting ready for the big night. And so what happened in the parking lot after homecoming is not representative of the students, the team, or the community. It was a horrible, senseless tragedy. And it's one that could have and has happened in other communities and in other public spaces. Of course, we're working closely with the McLain team, with our campus police and law enforcement and safety professionals, to ensure that we're bringing back our students to campus in the safest way possible, and that we have all the information we need to be able to do that. Classes will resume on Thursday, and Principal Hrabowski will be sending out information to families about preparing to return to school. And in the meantime, we're working with our community partners to make sure that they're continuing to support our students during this interim time, during this pause, including the Dream Center and some of our faith leaders and others who've been supporting students this week. We all look forward to having our students back together on Thursday. I also want to remind you that Friday's incident is still an active investigation. And so if you have any information if you have questions specific to that, the Tulsa Police Department is going to be the best source for that. But we do want people to know that if they have any information, that they can, of course, contact Tulsa Police Department, but we also have a safety hotline that you've heard me talk about a lot, 918-480-SAFE, or text to 480-SAFE. And those can be anonymous, and we would love help and information, not only about this, but also about any other concerns that people may have, so that we can work together to keep everyone safe. So I will stop talking and just see what's on your mind.
I have a question. So you mentioned that you've been in contact with Ron's family. We spoke with them yesterday afternoon, and they told us that you and the district have not been in contact with them. So can you explain why that disparity is?
I can't explain that disparity. I can tell you I have personally talked with the family. Families are complex, and Teron's grandmother is his legal guardian, and I'm not sure if that's who you spoke to.
When did you speak with the family?
Did you speak to Teron's grandmother?
We spoke with his mother.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks for sharing more about Teron and sharing what his teacher had to say. I think that is a wonderful thing to share, so thanks. I think what's on a lot of people's minds is security going forward. I know you've been busy the last few days, but have those conversations started about what the district plans to do when it comes to keeping people safe at future games?
Yes, and I would say it's what are we going to make sure we continue to do to keep people safe, and what else do we need to understand about all schools and activities of all kinds. And I think that what I want you to know is that we, in addition to the existing campus police and security team members that we had at the game, what we want to do is begin to stagger games in a more significant way than we have in the past. We had 5 home games on Friday, and that's a lot. It's tradition. It's Friday Night Lights, right? So we want high school football to be on Fridays, but we also need to make sure that and we were staffed as planned, but it's we think that we're going to make some adjustments there. And so I believe even beginning this week, we do have 2 home games on Friday. So those will stay, because of course that's a lot already planned around that. But I believe we are moving one of the other games, and I don't know if we announced that yet, but yes,
How
ma'am.
many officers did you have on duty Friday night? And are there plans to increase that number at the next home game?
Yes, so we had, there were 3 security professionals at the start of the game, and then there were 3 additional folks who joined, who were there later after one of the other games concluded. And so, yes, we do plan to, the reason for the staggering of games is so that we can increase security at our different events.
Will you add even more in this upcoming week? In addition to.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it will be, this is a change that we want to make in an ongoing way.
Staggering the games?
Staggering the games, just making sure that when scheduling is happening, that we are, that we're able to put more concentrated efforts on fewer games at a time.
And then will it be, you said 3 and 3, are you going to have even more, just for peace of mind, if nothing else, on Friday?
Are you asking me whether there will be a difference one day versus another? No, what we're talking about are changes that we want to make in an ongoing way, not as just like a one-time thing. And I'm not sure if you're asking about all of the games or about McLain specifically.
McLain games, just adding more officers out there.
So McLain was scheduled to play this week. The team they were scheduled to play forfeited. So so they don't have a game this week. We are working with the team and the coach to plan other activities for them to bring them together and support them as a team, but they have a W from that game because Cleveland forfeited.
I guess the next time we have a home game
then the next time, what I'm saying is that we'll make those changes on an ongoing, in an ongoing way, not a targeted way. We don't have a belief that we have a school that is less safe than other schools. We want to make sure all of our schools are secure.
What assurances are you giving the parents? I know you had a community meeting on Sunday with community leaders and parents. What assurances are you providing to the community to let them know this is a safe space for your kids to return to?
Well, schools are very safe spaces, and I think that's the main thing I want people to know is that we do have security in our schools and at our athletic activities and other activities as well. I think what's important for all of us to understand is that we live in a very different world, and we need to be aware. We need to share if we see something that concerns us. If we hear talk about a challenge that people are having with one another, or something that causes us to be worried about something, people need to share. And that's why we emphasize our hotline so often, because I would say when you think about, as you go through the course of your day and you go to the grocery store, the movie, the mall, a concert, wherever it might be, none of us can give people total assurance, but of those things I just listed, I'm confident that our schools are among the safest of any of those choices that we all make during the course of our day.
How disappointed were you with the response from Cleveland and from Miami? I know I'm probably saying that wrong.
No, you're not. It is Miami.
That they didn't want to return to the school.
I think that what I'm choosing to focus on is a different response that we got. The response that we got more resoundingly from area superintendents and superintendents from different parts of the state who have played our athletes in the past were offers of support, offers of love, offers of empathy and respect for our kids. This is not about our students, our team. They have been amazing, and people who have played them in the past have seen that, their sportsmanship, their way of carrying themselves. And we received communication supporting that, but we also very specifically received offers for our students to come and play in their communities. And that made up all the difference for anything otherwise that people chose to say in an uninformed way about our kids.
When you talk about staggering, I know you said you hadn't made any specific announcements yet as to what times that might be, but are you talking about the potential for a Saturday game in the afternoon? Is that what you mean?
Potentially, yeah. I think the game that I think the game that we're talking about this week is going to be a Thursday night game. The one that, are we saying that? It's not that big of a deal, but it's the kids know, right? That would be my main concern. So the Hale game will be on Thursday instead of Friday. So then we'll just have two on Friday, which, we have that'll really help.
It sounds like when you have a packed schedule that you're looking at in the future, continuing to stagger. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
So that not only for, this season, obviously we'll have to make some adjustments, but then on an ongoing way, when we're doing scheduling, just making that part of the design from the beginning.
Gotcha. So that'll be a change moving forward.
Yeah.
And then can you talk about what efforts TPS did make when it comes to Cleveland? I've been told there were several offers from TPS. We can have the game here, here, and here, and we were just told no. Is that
Right. We did offer alternative locations, time, so forth, and they chose to forfeit.
Is there even the opportunity for another McLean home game? Because Wagner just announced that game got moved to Wagner, which just leaves Skiatook. What do you have to say about that?
So what do I have to say about that?
Is there even going to be another McLean home game at this point?
I don't, well, if you're asking me whether they're going to play at home versus being the home team, which, whether they'll play at home, I don't know. I think that what I would say is that Skiatook was one of the communities that reached out and offered like tremendous support and really showed their love and respect for our students. So, but I don't know the answer to that. I don't know whether or not we'll be playing back in our stadium. To be honest with you, I don't even have that part of the schedule in my brain right now.
Does anything change for the feeder, the middle school? Because I know they play at McLean as well.
We haven't made any changes that I'm aware of to their schedule.
So you mentioned earlier that on Friday night, there were 3 security professionals that were later joined by 3 additional ones. Where were these security professionals? Were they on the field, in the parking lot? Where were they specifically?
Are you asking me where they were at the moment where the incident happened? Because I
Where were
don't.
they assigned for the night?
I don't have that level of information. I can try to get it for you, but I don't know.
That would be great.
Yeah.
You kind of touched on this a little bit with her question, but what message do you have for school districts who are scared to come play at McLean?
I mean, here, if a school district chooses to forfeit rather than play our students, then they just take the loss. And I would just say that's their decision. I think everyone has to make the decision that they think is best for them and for their students in that moment. And so, like I said, I think what we're staying focused on is how to support our students and give them a great season, and how to focus on those who see past one incident, which I think is important. Lindsay's been trying to get in some.
So you mentioned that the McLean students will be coming back to campus on Thursday.
Uh-huh.
Assuming that it's still an open investigation at that time, will there be any changes as far as security, both at McLean specifically and for the schools within its feeder pattern?
The answer is yes, that we're making a number of changes at McLean. I don't think I'm prepared today to talk about any changes in the feeder pattern, but at McLean's where we've been really focusing our energy, because there is still an investigation underway. There's still information that we don't have that is important to understand, that's part of what makes this complex. And so we've been working with the teachers to really understand their current safety protocols, talking to them about things that they would like to see, ways in which we're going to adjust entries, some things about the physical plant, doors that are open, not open, just things like that you would imagine would be a part of that conversation.
What kind of supports are going to be in place for the students when they come back on Thursday?
Yes, we're working very closely with our Office of Student and Family Support Services, and they have been working with our teachers. We started yesterday, more of that today, to make sure that our teachers feel prepared to have a conversation with students about what happened, to listen and empathize and understand, and begin to really get students back to focusing on school and moving forward, but without, we can't fail to acknowledge, we have to address and give them a chance to be together with their teachers and with one another, and grieve and talk about what they experienced and process, and then be ready to get back to learning and school.
Now, in 2016, there was another shooting that took place at a McLean football game. Were the security professionals that were there on Friday, was that part of a strategy to implement safety as a result of the 2016 shooting that took place. And now that this has happened, where obviously one student has been killed, is there any plan moving forward of making any changes to that strategy?
Well, I would say that while I was the superintendent, it was 6 years ago and COVID was between the two. So I don't know that I can speak to what changes would have happened after that incident from a security standpoint. I do remember there was a response. We did make adjustments, and I'm confident those adjustments were carried forward. And this is just a continued evolution of that. But I don't think I can speak to the specifics about it. I don't have that.
Given that there have been violent incidents at McLain dating back to, as far as I know, in the 80s, is there any consideration, any talks, and I don't know if any decisions have been made, but is there any discussion right now about the possibility of playing, when McLain has a home game, choosing a neutral site to play and just not playing at that stadium in the future? Is that part of any discussion right now?
Well, first of all, I don't know what incidences you're talking about. I mean, the one we were just talking about was 6 years ago. So, I mean, any implication that we have, that an unsafe situation, I think, is putting the emphasis on the location rather than understanding that we live in a part of a city that has seen an increase in crime, and there's that's a challenge. And this was something that happened after the game in the parking lot. And so we're going to do everything that we can to make an adjustment there. But I'm, those are the two incidences that I'm aware of, and I don't want to speak to things that happened, decades ago.
Well, I know more recently, 2007, there were several issues in basketball and football, whether they be fights or incidents with guns, just several different situations. And I don't want to detail them all right now, but we remember covering those, not me specifically, but our newsroom. And I guess the broader question is there a consideration for neutral sites for home games?
No. If you're asking me like on an ongoing basis, we'll be making adjustment to where McLain plays their home games. No. That's not something we're talking about.
What is the relationship between TPS and TPD, and what is that conversation looking like right now?
We have a very strong relationship with Tulsa Police Department. We have an informal and a formal relationship with Tulsa Police Department. And so anytime something happens, we stay in close touch. We have our own campus police, so our police chief is the primary point of contact, although, I speak to Chief Franklin as well at times. And last week, I actually reached out to the mayor prior to any of this, just generally about safety. And really, he and I talked about, some of what we see happening around the country, what we've done, what they've done, and talked about potentially coming together along with some of the other Tulsa area superintendents and other safety professionals to expand on our work together. There's really been a gap of leadership in that area in the state of Oklahoma. And so we need to step in and fill that and collaborate with one another proactively.
When you say a gap of leadership, what do you mean specifically?
I just mean that typically you would see more than just like a sort of demand that people do things that they, of course, are already attempting to do. If you're a leader and you have concerns about schools and safety, you'd make an investment in those. You would bring people together. You would lead. You would show leadership, and I haven't seen that happen. I think it's a problem.
Dr. Hughes, I really appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions. And, we've been asking it for a couple of days to hear from you, and, we've gotten statements and things like that. Can you just explain for people why it took 4 days for us to hear from you?
I did explain that. I'm happy to tell you again. We, as a school system, our first focus has to be on our students, our team, our families, our immediate community. Today's, I believe, Tuesday. So we had a meeting with some community leaders on Sunday. We spent the day yesterday with our team. We're been with our team today. And so I feel really confident that we carved out the time to spend with you in the best way we possibly could. And I also wanted to be sure that we, were able to answer your questions about knowing that you were going to want to know, well, what is the plan? What are we going to do? And so we needed to have that as well. But primarily, it was that we were focused on our first priority, which are our kids.
And were you there that night of the shooting?
I was not.
Some of my colleagues have asked about basketball, which is obviously a little ways down the road, but there are fall sports going on right now, cross country, there's softball, there's volleyball. Are there plans to make any kind of security adjustments for those sports?
I don't have the specifics on that yet, Lindsay. We haven't gotten that far. I know that Coach Wilson and his team are looking at all of our activities, and I know you asked about the other grade levels as well, but I don't have those specifics.
I think yesterday Chief Franklin offered the possibility of putting some officers at games. Is that something, I think we touched a little bit on TPD, but can you elaborate on whether people can expect some TPD officers to be out at games in the future?
I mean, we certainly collaborate with Tulsa Police Department, and they know now when our games are and make themselves available. And so to the extent that we're able to do even more with that, we will enthusiastically take them up on that.
But just to be clear, there are no plans at this time to add additional security.
Well,
officers.
actually, we didn't have our board meeting last night because we were focusing on this and on our team. But we're going to have it on Monday, and obviously had been planned for some time. There are some campus police officer positions being added to the campus police force, as well as a technical adjustment, but one that matters, which is moving our campus police officers from 10 to 12 months to help us with recruitment and retention and so forth.
Are those positions being added in direct response to the shooting?
Oh, no. I mean, this was on the draft agenda, 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, I think so. It's,
And do you know how many more positions are?
I believe it's 3 full-time, and then, yeah.
Now, yesterday, obviously was the first day that you guys announced that there was going to be no school. Students had access to pick up lunch if they needed or support services. Were those support services available today?
Yes. And students, there were
Have they been
students.
coming?
Yes. I mean, not many, but they've been around, certainly up there, seeing one another, seeing their teachers. So there have been students around, yeah. And we ran the buses as well, in case any of them wanted to catch the bus.
Was the decision to keep the school closed until Thursday in any way connected with, because there has not been an arrest on this, in this case, the suspect's still on the loose, is it a safety concern, a security concern?
I don't know that I would go so far as to say there's a security concern exactly, but certainly it factors into our wanting to make sure we have the right information as we were making the decision about bringing students back. And so we felt like there was a lot that we didn't know and needed to know before we did that. And so I would say that the things that we were doing regardless. And so, yes, but I don't want to overstate that. And I don't want anybody to think that we're fearful about that or anything, but it certainly was on our minds as we were planning what we do this week and how we do it.
Do you have knowledge of the suspect's connection to McLain? Is it a former student or someone that graduated from here? Or do we know what the connection is?
I don't think I can address that. I think that that's a question for Tulsa Police Department, but we certainly, from a school district perspective, we have the ability. We have cameras. We have we have a nerve center where we have the ability to review those that footage and understand. Now, obviously, there's an investigation, so there's that part of it that's the criminal part of it that we're not involved in. But then there's the part of it that is from a school safety perspective. You know, we don't need to have the kind of evidence that you would have for a crime. We have what do we understand about where students were and where they were supposed to be, and then can respond accordingly with that. So that's what one of the things our team has been doing today.
Also, you mentioned earlier that you spoke with the grandmother of Taryn. And what are you able to share? What was that conversation like?
Yes. Well, with his grandmother, his uncle, who played a huge part in raising him, his sister, it's any grieving family. They're grieving. They are, I think, I would say probably still in shock. So it's tremendously sad, and they're very proud. So, you know, shared with them, I shared with them, and then others who've been in touch with them all, you know, throughout the weekend, just really reinforcing what an amazing human being he was, and just making sure they know that their pride in who he was based on how they knew him. Just making sure that they knew that side of him that not all families get to see, where, you know, the way that his teachers knew him and his friends and the public in a way that they may not fully understand. And I think that was, you know, important to them to hear.
Dr. Gist, I can just, you know, hear the emotion in your voice, just talking about, you know, talking to the people in McLain. So how do you guys move forward from this?
I mean, I will tell you, I said this at the beginning, and I don't even know how to reinforce this or how to help, you know, the people of Oklahoma and the people of Tulsa specifically to see that as a society, as a state, we have an entire system of education resting on the shoulders of too few people. And we don't respect them the way we need to. We don't compensate them as professionals. We don't even pay many of them a living wage. We are making damaging choices that have implications that go so far beyond a crisis like this. And, you know, when you look at these folks who are, you know, they're teachers, they're counselors, they're social workers, they are nurses, they're coaches, they're everything. And they're giving, and they're giving, and they're giving, and they're giving. And honestly, the state of Oklahoma is taking advantage of them. And it's not sustainable, truly. And we've been saying this for years, but it is truly not sustainable. And I think because our teachers go above and beyond and go above and beyond and go above and beyond, you know, we talk about how they spend their own money on things and how they spend their time, and they give and they give. And I, you know, it gets taken for granted. And I worry about all of our teachers and what they take on. And so to answer your question directly, we're going to move forward together because that's who the people of Team Tulsa are. And so we're going to link arms, and we are going to carry forward. And we're going to keep doing whatever we need to do for our kids. But I need people to understand that when we are as short-staffed as we are, teachers, custodians, child nutrition, security, paraprofessionals, special education, across the board, there's a price to pay for that. And it comes at the expense of the children of our state. And it has to change. It really has to change.
the opportunity to speak with some of McLean's teachers and administrators as well?
Yes, I spent most of the day with them yesterday.
Do they have any concerns? And if so, what are those?
They have a lot of concerns. They're concerned about a lot of the things I just named. There aren't enough adults. They have too many students on their rosters. They need more support. You know, we have amazing educators, and this was evident in the room yesterday. We have super experienced folks who've been there for a really long time. We have brand new teachers from traditional teacher preparation programs. We have career changers from some of our alternative programs. And then we have other folks who've just come in to teach emergency certified that don't have that background. All kinds of folks, and each of them are there because they care and they're contributing, and I'm grateful for them in so many ways. They need different levels of support, and what happens is the experienced folks, then their shoulders become even heavier because they're supporting more people who need that extra help. And so that's a big part of it. A quick side note, and then I'll continue answering your question, which is that as of the end of last year, almost 20% of our teachers were emergency certified. And in Oklahoma, there are twice as many people retiring from teaching than the people who are coming out of teacher preparation programs from colleges. So that's assuming that all of those kids stay in Oklahoma, which they don't. And then it's also assuming that only people who are leaving the profession are leaving because they're retiring, which is also not true, because they're changing careers and they're moving and so forth. And so it's more than double the problem. I didn't say that right, but it's, we have half the number of people we need, assuming all of the conditions are right, which they're not. So it's less than that we're able to even begin to consider as a pool of possible folks, let alone those who, are going to actually choose to stay in Oklahoma. And so that's one of their major concerns. The main thing we spent time on yesterday, and today became more kind of planning and practical, but most of the day yesterday was grieving together and processing, and then we shifted to planning. So some of that began, and then more of both of those actually today, but really making sure that they were prepared to bring students back safely. We were prepared to support them in bringing students back safely. And then also, like I was saying, that they were prepared to be there for students. They needed to do some processing and grieving as adults before they can fully be there for students. So it was a combination of different things, but they're concerned about all the things that we know are problematic in Oklahoma that stem ultimately from the fact that we don't invest in public education in the way that we need to.
I think we can do just one more question and then we have to wrap it. Sorry, we're running out
So
of
there
time.
will be, or there will not be extra security when they return to class on Thursday?
There will be.
Extra security?
Yes. So, and the answer is yes. And there will be, I would say, I don't know that I would say that means exactly more security people as much as it means more adults and safety practices. So what doors students are entering through, who's there to greet them, which adults are in the hall, make it, that kind of thing. So procedures and protocols.
Can you say anything about the condition of the other student in the hospital?
Is that okay if I do? I mean, I know,
The
but
only information I have is that he's in recovery.
yeah, I mean, he is stable. He is going to be back, and but he has injuries that are challenging, but he's stable. I think that's the main thing.
To survive.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also tonight, school officials from Broken Arrow and Union are joining together to raise awareness about the dangers of fentanyl. The BA Police Department reports a nearly 50% increase in overdose calls over the past year.
And as News Channel 8's Bert Mumolo reports, the slogan of the new awareness campaign is one.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I really hope that you guys really was able to get into the content with the shooting at the high school. Hello, how are you? Yes. Oh my God. So pretty much this was just an informative. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. We have definitely come to the end of the show, but definitely sound off and let me know what you think about the questions that the reporters were asking, and let me know how you feel about the all around topic. Okay. Thank you so much. I actually have to go, but I'll see you later on. Thank you guys so much. Goodbye.